Someone opens a chat thread, types, "Hey, how have you been?" Reads it back, deletes it. Not because they don't want to talk, not because they don't care. Some part of them is doing math, quiet, automatic, running in the background, on whether this text is worth the risk of not getting one back. You know this person. You might be this person. The one who never starts the conversation, never sends the first good morning, never reaches out even when they're thinking about someone constantly, and everyone around them draws the same conclusion. They must not care that much, which is usually the opposite of the truth. If I text first and they don't answer the way I want, I'll know exactly where I stand, and I'd rather not know. There's a reason this pattern shows up in some people over and over, across every relationship, every friendship, every version of their life. And it has almost nothing to do with how much they value the other person. Every time you send a first message, you're doing something most people never think about consciously. You're placing a bid. You're saying, "I thought about you enough to reach out." And the second that message is sent, you've handed over information about yourself that you can't take back. How much you care, how much you were thinking about them, how much this relationship matters to you compared to how much it matters to them. Psychologists call this kind of exposure a form of social risk asymmetry. The person who reaches out first always reveals more than the person who responds, because a response can be shaped to match whatever the other person wants it to look like. A first message can't hide anything. It just sits there, undefended, waiting to find out if it mattered. For most people, this risk is small enough to ignore, but for some people, this exact moment, the gap between sending and receiving, gets processed by the brain almost identically to physical danger. Neuroscience research on social rejection has found that being ignored or turned down activates some of the same regions as physical pain, including the anterior cingulate cortex, which means that for the person who never texts first, hitting send doesn't feel like reaching out. It feels like stepping into traffic and hoping nothing hits them. So they don't send it, not out of coldness, out of a nervous system that has learned, somewhere along the way, that initiating costs more than it's worth. This usually isn't random. People who avoid initiating contact often carry what attachment researchers call an avoidant attachment style, not because they were never loved, but because somewhere early on, reaching out didn't get reliably met. Maybe a parent who was there physically, but distant emotionally. Maybe a friendship where being the one who always texted first quietly turned into being taken for granted. Maybe one specific moment, a message sent into silence that never got answered, that taught a lesson far bigger than the moment itself. Wanting something out loud is dangerous. Wanting it quietly is safer. And so the strategy becomes waiting. Waiting is safe. Waiting means if nobody reaches out, you can tell yourself it's simply how things are, rather than confirming the thing you were actually afraid of, that you wanted this more than they did. Here's the part that almost nobody says out loud. The people who never text first are usually not the ones who feel the least. They're often the ones who feel the most and trust it the least. They've learned to keep their caring invisible, because visible caring is the version of themselves that's gotten hurt before. So instead, they build an entire relational style around one rule: never be the one who's shown to want it more. The problem is, this rule doesn't just protect them, it slowly starves every relationship they're in. Because the people around them, the ones who don't know any of this is happening internally, just experience the silence. They don't see the deleted drafts, the "hey" that almost got sent, the moments of missing someone that never made it past a phone screen. They just see someone who never reaches out. And eventually, they stop expecting anyone to answer that question for them and stop wondering why. Which means the very defense mechanism built to prevent the pain of feeling like they cared more ends up guaranteeing it. Because if nobody's texting first, the relationship runs on whoever's willing to keep initiating. And when that person gets tired, there's nothing left to hold it together. So if you're the one who never texts first, ask yourself what you're actually protecting. It's not indifference. It's a version of yourself that decided a long time ago that wanting things out loud wasn't safe. And the only way anyone will ever know how much you actually care is if, at some point, you're willing to be the one who finds out first whether it was worth it. How many people in your life think you don't care, simply because you never told them you did?